Coming up on Oakdale Update, we'll talk with District 622 School Superintendent Christine Osorio, and we'll tell you about some upcoming events. Stay tuned. Oakdale Update is straight ahead. Hello and welcome to Oakdale Update. I'm your host, Frank Orsello. This is the City of Oakdale's news and information program about your community. Christine Osorio is the Superintendent of School District 622, which includes the communities of Oakdale, Maplewood, and North St. Paul. I'm honored to have Superintendent Osorio here in the studio today. Christine, thanks for joining us on Oakdale Update.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
Oh, it's nice to have you again. I think this is about the second or third time I've interviewed you. Is that correct? Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's start out. Tell me about yourself, your education and all that.
Sure. So my background, prior to coming to School District 622, I was working in St. Paul Public Schools for 19 years. Right. I was a school assistant principal. I was a principal. I was an assistant superintendent supervising principals. And last job I had there was chief academic officer for St. Paul. I've been here 4 years now, and very excited about the work we're doing.
So you just renewed your contract just recently?
I did about a year ago. So I'm in my 4th year, and we typically do 3-year contracts. So I completed my first 3-year contract, and I'm in the first year of my second 3-year contract.
Okay, wonderful. And how do you like 622, just off the side?
I love 622.
Do you really?
In fact, it's just been a complete joy to be in this district. We have a group of principals who really work well together, very strong instructional leaders, highly trained teachers. And I say that coming into the district a few years ago, I was impressed at how highly trained our teachers are. They've had a lot of professional development in the science of teaching reading and the content area and language objectives and all these things that we hope to do well with our teachers. They are experts on it.
Well, that's where it starts. All right, let's talk about the health of 622, okay?
Sure.
First of all, where is 622? What does it include?
Sure. 622 includes North St. Paul, Maplewood, and Oakdale, as we know. It also includes the northern part of Woodbury and a little slice of Pine Springs and Lake Elmo and Landfall as well. So it's a little broader than just North St. Paul, Maplewood, and Oakdale.
Okay. How many schools are involved?
We have 2 traditional high schools, 3 middle schools, and 9 elementary schools. But we also have extra programs as well. We have a high school that's for 18 to 21-year-olds with special needs who don't graduate on a typical timeline.
Oh, really?
We have a whole high school for them.
Where's that?
That's right in downtown North St. Paul. It's a space that's right across from Love's Ice Cream Shop.
Really?
Yep. And that is a wonderful high school. If you ever want to visit a fantastic place,
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that.
We have nearly 100 students there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You should get more information out on that. I didn't know.
It's an amazing program. And we actually have students from other districts trying to get into that program. But we also have adult ESL and adult GED classes that happen.
At that school?
Nope. We have that at our Harmony building, which is right off of White Bear Avenue.
Okay.
And we also have a program for special needs students, which is K-12 for students with behavior needs, and it's an entire program at the Harmony site as well. So we have a lot, and then 2 early childhood centers at Gladstone and Beaver Lake. So we've got a lot going on.
I'm familiar with the Beaver Lake. I know.
One other thing people don't realize is that we also have therapeutic centers in our district boundaries, and whenever places like that serve students with chemical addictions and severe mental health needs who are there temporarily, like Prairie Care. When students enroll in those programs, and many times they come from outside our district to be there temporarily, we become the educational provider for them. So we also have multiple programs going on, the Phoenix program and Prairie Care and others, where we serve students who are in a therapeutic environment as well.
I'm ashamed to say I didn't know about all these programs you have. That is so wonderful.
Yeah.
That is so great. Okay, so about how many students are we talking about in the whole?
We have about 10,600 students, more or less. I will
Really?
say this past year is the first year in nearly a decade that our enrollment actually increased instead of decreased. It was on a little slight decline for quite a while, and we finally are back up again.
But that's on a national level too, isn't it? The
No,
decrease. I mean,
not at all, actually.
isn't?
It kind of depends on the communities and the neighborhoods you serve. In Minnesota, we have open enrollment. You can enroll in districts outside of where you live, and so that's always we have a competition in Minnesota. You need to keep if you want to keep your students, you have to offer good programming.
just like
And
industry, correct?
Absolutely, and we're finally turning that corner and getting.
Do you
them
have a
to
lot
see-
of students applying to come to your district?
We do. We lose a number of students out of our district, and we also get a number of students that come in for different kinds of reasons. Many times we have students, if their parents work in our district, and the parents want them to go to school where they work, so they bring them in with them if they live outside the district. So,
Oh, well,
yeah.
that's okay. Hey, so we're a first ring suburb.
Yep.
So how many languages are there in our district?
Our district is changing dramatically. Right now, we have over 57 different,
57.
now mind you, different languages spoken by our families in our district. And we are now about 55% students of color. That's changed quite a bit in the last few years. And a number of students who are learning English as a second language, obviously, with all the different languages that we offer. Our biggest language groups are Spanish, Somali, and Hmong. But what's interesting is we get a lot of other languages that are not as common in the area, but people who come from different countries with unique languages that are somewhat unique to Minnesota. Often we have a Karen population, Karen-speaking population.
Yep,
But we also have some people who come from like Mexico, but they're native Mayan speaking. So they may be Mexican, but they're native Mexican from the indigenous culture, and they come with a home language of a Mayan language.
Is that equivalent to Spanish or not quite?
Very different.
It is?
Yep. In fact, for many of those families, it's not easy to even have, we might have a Spanish interpreter, but it's hard to find a Mayan interpreter. So
Really?
many of them speak some Spanish, but it's a second language for them too. So
how do you handle all these different languages? I mean, is it up to you to supply them with a language interpreter? Is that correct?
it is, yes. And so we have a number of different ways. We have some full-time or part-time staff that we have that work in our district permanently, and those are Hmong, Somali, and Spanish interpreters. But we also have a language hotline that we subscribe to. You pay a fee for it, but you can call and get someone who's a native speaker of different languages, and then you can hold the phone up and have them as a last resort help. Many times for our families who come where we really don't have access to interpreters for their language, we try to find someone in their own family or extended family who does have some English skills, and we invite them to come and help us.
Oh, really?
And most families are willing, they generally have someone in their family who can step up and help when we need them to.
Oh, that's great. So this would be the kids would be the first generation here, and usually they pick up the language pretty rapidly. Is that correct?
They do. Kids do really well.
Yes, they do. Okay. All right. So let's talk about your staff now. How many staff people do you have?
We have almost 1,700 employees, and I think that we often think about the service that we provide to our students in our community, but we're a very large employer, and something we really work hard on is being one of the best employers. My strategy is we're going to have the best schools if we have the best employees, and so a dream I have and a vision I work hard toward is make everybody love working here, and tell your friends that it's the best place to work, because then we draw really strong talent whenever we have openings.
Now, I met your PR man or your communication.
Yep, Josh.
Josh.
Yep.
Excellent young man,
Isn't he great?
You got to be happy with him.
I'm thrilled with him. He came a non-traditional path into
He
communications.
did, and I asked him about that. I don't know if you saw that interview.
Yep,
Did you see
I
it?
did. Yep.
And he did. Go ahead. Tell me. Go ahead.
He's just an amazing guy. He came out of Chisago Lakes as a band director.
Yes.
A music guy.
Yes.
And then he picked up some extra studies in technology, and then he became a principal of a charter school up in Elk River, which had a huge online presence. They had a blended learning, so they had kids who were in person and online classes, and just a complete visionary for how you build it, how you structure it. Young guy. And when we brought him here, we're hoping to develop and expand our online course catalog, and he's the person to help us do that. And having marketed his own school himself, he didn't have a communications team to do that.
Right.
He had to do it all himself, and he really is really innovative about how to do that.
And he didn't come through the regular channels necessarily, did he? You picked him, sort of?
Yep.
What wonderful.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
It's so fun when we can find a great sparkling talent and bring him on the team.
Happy to be here, too, it looks like.
And he's so humble. Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hate this is something that we have to address. It's the elephant in the room.
Sure.
The safety of schools.
Sure.
What have you done, or what is being done to keep the safety of our schools
Safety
intact?
is a top priority for us. In the last years, in fact, when we passed our operating levy in 2016, you may recall we had a few questions that we were going to try to put some money towards. One of them was school safety, increasing behavior support. There's many ways to look at school safety. Your internal threats or the conflict among students, and external people who might do harm to a school. So we try to look at it from all lenses. And so internally, we've put extra behavior and mental health supports in our schools. Every one of our schools has mental health support and therapy available to students who need it. We also have been really working to simply upgrade our camera systems. In the past, we had cameras in our schools, but they were so poor quality, we couldn't even see the faces on those cameras.
Terrible.
And so now we've got high definition cameras. We can see what's happening in those schools. And also the badge access, so that every door in the district is locked and you need a badge to open them. What we're working towards right now is communication systems. One of the most important things in a tragedy or a crisis is to be able to communicate. If I'm a school principal and all my teachers are with their students and there's something happening, the more information I can give my teachers, the safer they can keep our students. So all of our emergency drills now, our principals have to practice from their home, their phone, their smartphone, blasting messages to their staff. And we have a program called Blackboard that helps us do that. So I have this assignment for my principals this year. Every time, even if it's a fire drill, even if it's a planned drill, blast a message out to all your employees to see that they're getting your communication, so we can be clear about that. We're also working on really changing the entrances to our schools, and you're going to hear about this with a couple of our schools. We're starting to redesign already facilities, but we're putting bullet-resistant film. Sadly, we're in this era.
Isn't that terrible?
But you know, it's so important that our employees and our students feel safe at school, and so tightening up protocol about how people are led into buildings, but also having this system. Our dream is to put secure entrances on every building, and it's a modern secure entrance.
So you say outside the building now?
Actually, what you do is the modern school design, the school office is located at the front of the building. In some of our older buildings, they're buried deep into the building. You put a double vestibule, so someone walks in the first door, then they push a buzzer. And if they're allowed into the building, they don't get to go straight into the building. They get side entrance into the office itself. And then in those modern systems, even to get out of that school office, you need another badge to get to the rest of the building. Think about hospitals. If you go to a hospital, sometimes there's badges that get you through different layers of the hospital. That's what we're working toward in our schools, to have systems where if there's ever a lockdown, doors close, and you have, even if there ever were an intruder, they can't get too far if the doors are shutting. And the other thing we're looking at is modern hardware. Currently, if a teacher needs to lock down a door for lockdown drills, they have to have a key. Well, sometimes there's a substitute teacher and they don't happen to have the key on them, or somebody left their key at home that day. And we want fail-proof systems where you can have some door hardware that will lock the door, but even if you don't have a key. And we have to work with the fire marshals to make sure they feel it's safe, because you know fire safety is also a huge concern. So we're working with an architect firm that's helping us do that, and we've already started work on a couple buildings on moving this work forward.
Do you still have a policeman in the building security?
We do. We actually have, because we work with North St. Paul, Maplewood, and Oakdale, we work with all 3 police departments, and all 3 police departments have a police officer that works full-time with us. So in North St. Paul, we've got a police officer who works with North High and surrounding schools in that. And in Maplewood, we've got a police officer who stations a lot of their work out of Harmony, but works with the middle schools as well. And at Oakdale, we have a police officer that's stationed primarily at Tartan, but she also goes to the other sites as needed as well. So we work very closely with all 3 police chiefs.
Who pays for that? Is that we pay for them, right?
The district pays a good portion of it. The city subsidize, the city police department subsidize a little bit of it as well. So, you know, I think an average police officer costs about $100,000 a year when you think of all the training and the insurance and all those things. And we pay about $70,000 for each one, and then they pick up the rest. So it's kind of a collaboration with the police departments.
There's been a lot of talk about teachers carrying guns. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a terrible idea.
Oh, she's scary.
I really believe that guns should be carried by people who are trained.
Who know how to shoot
and absolutely.
Can shoot.
My worry would just be an accident happening that
Absolutely.
shouldn't have happened, and we want to have our most highly trained people. That said, we do, unfortunately live in an era where we really do need to have tight connections with our police departments, and I feel really strongly about ours. I have all 3 police chiefs on speed dial on my phone.
Sure.
Text them right away anytime there's an issue, and they've been wonderful. Our police chiefs are pretty fantastic. They've
They
done
are
some
great people.
work.
But getting back to this, excuse me, this teachers carrying guns. I mean, can I see you carrying a gun? Or
I would.
Other
You would
teachers?
not want me to be carrying a gun.
No, I mean, and I was
Yes.
in the Marine Corps, and I'm trained with weapons.
Yes.
And even I would be leery about
Yeah.
carrying a
Yeah.
gun in a
Yeah.
environment like that with
Right.
people and students.
So many students around and so many things happening. You just don't want to have an accidental anything.
It's been a lot of years since I've shot, and I could probably miss who I'm
Right,
shooting at.
right.
I mean, that's just me.
I agree.
Anyway, okay, let's go back. Some of the good programs that 622 has, and I want to mention one that I was very impressed with, Early College Opportunities, PSEO and CIS. Could you
Yeah.
tell us what those are?
PSEO is post-secondary enrollment options, and CIS is college in the schools. Both are ways that high school students can earn credit, both as a high school credit and college at the same time. 622 is a leader in the whole metro area for how
Really?
many students.
Really?
Last year, our students alone earned over 2,000 college credits, millions of dollars in tuition saved. When students take
I just want to interrupt you.
Yeah.
This saving money, who saves that money?
The families save the money, because when you go to college, you have to pay tuition. If you take it while you're in high school, the state of Minnesota pays it.
Oh, is that right?
Yep, comes through the Minnesota Department of Education.
Sweet. Okay,
Yeah.
I interrupted you. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
okay. And so we're constantly looking at how we can expand those options. In order for a teacher in a high school to teach a college in the school class, they have to be highly certified, and we do a lot of our college in the schools through the University of Minnesota. They have to be certified basically on almost a professor level at the University of Minnesota. So they have to have a dual certification to do it. But when we do college in the schools, the student doesn't have to leave the high school. They can stay right at Tartan High School, take the class, and it's through a certified teacher. My own daughter, when she was at Tartan, took a college in the schools French class. And so she stayed at Tartan and took French class, but she was getting college credits for it. And they're very strict rules. They have to pass the tests at certain levels in order to earn the credits, but it's pretty amazing. PSEO, students get to leave campus and go to, say, Century. A lot of ours go to Century College. And while they're there, they work with the school counselors at Tartan or North, and they end up learning which classes they need to graduate from high school, and then they can get some. And then they spend more of their time at the college itself, but they earn the high school credit while they're there. Both are wonderful.
And so they get these credits. So when they do start college, which they probably will,
Yep.
they have X amount of credits already under their belt.
Absolutely.
Is that
My
correct?
own child just started at Hamlin College this year, and she transferred in a whole semester of college credits when she started.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And that saves you a couple bucks too.
It
then,
sure
correct?
does, I'll tell you.
Well, that's wonderful. Okay, so the other thing is 622 has a new program coming up. It's called Route 622.
Yep.
Tell us about that. That sounds really interesting.
Very exciting. We're working to put career and technical pathways into our high schools. And so we all want our students to be able to go on to college ready or careers, because we know there's a lot of great high-paying, high-skilled careers right out of high school these days.
Absolutely.
And so think about the old days. You used to take electives in high school, a woodworking shop class, and this for fun and exposure. Well, what we're working on is you take a whole series of courses in the same pathway, and you end with a certification
Really?
that allows you to be ready for industry. So we have...
Is this like plumbers and,
Yep.
and electricians?
Yep, so we have mechanical work happening. We've got an incredible fab lab at our high schools. Our students don't just work with 3D printers, they make their own 3D printers.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
We have students at both of our high schools that every year build a house in North St. Paul. I don't know if you followed that story, but they literally, from the beginning of the school year to the end, they break
did
ground,
hear
and at
that,
the end of the
yes.
school year, they have a
Yes.
house built.
Yes.
So it's not just fun woodwork, make a toolbox kind of thing. It's get out there and learn how to build a house.
How successful has that been?
Beautifully successful.
Has it
In
really?
fact, the house they just built this past year we just had the ribbon cutting in early fall, sold for over $300,000 in North St. Paul.
Really?
A beautiful home. Yeah.
So where do the profits go to that? Or do you have contractors working with you on
We
these?
do. We have a contract, and we do a lot of this work through the 916 program, which is an intermediary collaborative among about 20-some districts in the area. And so they actually house the program there, and then we reinvest and in the next house each year. So the city of North St. Paul works with us on that.
So about how many students are involved in this program?
Well, we have students from many area high schools. So Tartan and North are just one of the districts that's involved. So kids come from all over. But like Tartan and North.
What do you mean from all over? Where's
so
all over?
Roseville, Matamidi.
Really?
Yep.
So are we the only ones that have this program going?
Well, the houses are built in our district.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're the only ones where it's being built. Yeah.
But the classroom study part, is that, do these other schools have their
Many
people
do
too?
have their own programs,
Yes.
but we're, I think, the only one in the area where we're actually building a house on our own school property. Yeah.
I think that is so fantastic.
It's beautiful.
Because there's a lot of students that don't want to or can't go to college necessarily.
Exactly.
And they're good with their hands.
They are, and do you know we've actually spent a lot of time working with the Minnesota Department of Economic Development to see where are the workforce needs in our state, and the needs they have in machinery and small machinery and welding and many different areas, IT as well. The starting salaries are quite high, and many programs will even pay for students to get a year or two of training. There's just incredible opportunities. So we're holding job fairs for our students so that they can learn about these opportunities that are out there, and we're working towards summer internships for our students. We want all of their high school, especially the latter 2 years of their high school, to be complete launching pads into career pathways. And let's say someone is working in small machinery in high school, but they still want to go on to a 4-year degree. They can do all that and lead into a mechanical engineer program later and take those skills travel with you. Think about if you do a health safety class, but if I can learn actually how to do CPR and life-saving skills.
Sure.
We have students who graduate already as a licensed EMT.
Really?
They get EMT certified by graduation.
How many students do you reckon are in this program?
Right now we have about a couple hundred in these different
Really?
programs. I know you've probably heard of our DECA and BPA, the business programs, which are fantastic and award-winning across the country for our district. But we're really growing it. By the next couple years, our goal is that every student who wants to can be in at least one of these pathways. Right now the pathways are beginning kind of in 11th and 12th grade. Eventually we want to start them as early as 8th grade and get students exposure. With the plan that anyone can change pathways. We don't want someone to be, pigeonholed into a plan that they don't necessarily agree with later. We don't want them tracked. We want them to be flexible. But if you want to stack your stuff together and end with some certifications, we're going to set up the possibilities for that.
That is so wonderful. Okay, so we're getting low on time here, and we haven't hit the topic we came to talk about.
All right.
Okay, now we've got, you're going to be renovating Castle School and Richardson School. Why was it necessary?
Well, all of our schools, almost every single school we own is over 50 years old, with the exception of North High and Skyview Community School. And they're very much designed at a time that's completely different for what our needs are now. Back in the day, you needed 20 classrooms and 20 teachers in a principal's office. Well, now we offer many services inside a school beyond just a traditional classroom. We have speech and language services, we have special ed classes, we have English as a second language small group classes, we have social workers and counselors. And our students, anytime they work with these other adults, need small spaces to do that. And our buildings weren't designed for that. So what's happened over the years is people have taken these commons areas, and I have pictures I can show you. They're pretty amazing. People have carved up common spaces with homemade furniture dividers and things like that. We have people serving students in rooms that are not appropriate. An electrical closet, one of my staff is using an electrical closet. She made it decorated and cute, but it's got an electrical box in it, serving struggling learners. We need to redesign our buildings, and it's been really overdue. We decided to start with Castle and Richardson for 2 reasons. We know there's this huge housing development coming to Oakdale, right? We know over 2,000 homes are eventually coming. And, it might take a little while. Mayor Ranke was telling me it could take 5-10 years before they're really populated, but they're coming. And we want to have space for those students as well as, so we decided to start with where the population growth is going to be most prevalent.
Good move.
And so Castle, that whole development right now sits in the Castle attendance zone, so we wanted to start there. And we started with 2 projects because we had some seed money. A few years back in 2016, we sold a building that we jointly owned in Woodbury. It was Valley Crossing School. Our district jointly owned it with Stillwater, South Washington County Schools in our district. And it was a 10-year agreement. It was an inter-district program, but it ended up being dissolved a couple years ago. So we sold the building, and South Washington County Schools bought the building. And when they did, they paid Stillwater and North St. Paul our share of the profits from the sale of the building. So we had this seed money, and it could only be used it was capital dollars. It had to be used for facilities. So we thought, where should we start the work? And so we decided to use that as the money to get started on 2 buildings. That said, we are looking at really renovating many, many buildings in our district. We have a great opportunity on our horizon. A lot of the debt we incurred back in the 90s with the building of North High and Skyview Community School is starting to get paid off. So we have an opportunity to reinvest in, we believe, $200 to $250 million reinvestment without raising taxes.
Sweet.
Can you imagine that?
Sweet.
It's a great opportunity. So we're trying to think about how to make the most out of that investment if we move forward with that.
We're running really low.
Okay.
Can you give me the timetable? What are we doing on timetable?
Construction's underway with both Castle and Richardson. Both of those projects will be completed in the late fall, about December of this year, 19.
19?
Yep, this year.
Castle's going to be done?
Yep.
Just real quick, the inside of Castle is going to be renovated too, is that correct?
Everything. The mechanicals,
Yes.
the lighting, everything.
I've been in that school, and you're right, it's an old-style school.
It's really outdated.
Yes. And some of the other schools, is Carver going to be renovated too? Or?
We're looking at, we have a whole community meetings coming up, by the way, to really look at different ways we can, in fact, we have one this evening at our district education center. Okay. We're really looking at really trying to set up a plan where we can take that $200 or $250 million and spread it as well as possible. Tartan needs major renovations, major. It has water issues, it has landscaping issues, and we need to expand it. It's already reaching capacity.
Really?
We don't have room for the students we have. So our hope is to actually get safe school entrances on every one of our schools, and we're hoping to even get some air conditioning or that dehumidified air in all those schools to increase learning time as well. And lights and brights, and just make them more accessible. Modern furniture. There's a lot of research about that as well.
That school, Tartan, I think is from 71 too, something like that?
Yep, yep.
Ooh, that's old. Well, Christine, we are out of time, and I just want to thank you so much for enlightening us.
Yes.
And if people have questions about the district or anything, who would they get in touch with?
They can come straight to our district website. We have, if they want facilities information, there's a whole page there about our facilities updates, if that's something you're interested in. But you can always get in touch with our communications department. The information's right there on our district webpage as well.
Josh Anderson, is that his name?
He's the guy.
Josh Anderson.
And we have a mobile app, if anyone hasn't found it yet. School District 622, if you go to the App Store, that app, we push out news all the time, and there's updates all the time on what's happening.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for all you're doing for the school district.
Thank you.
You're so darn excited about this.
I love it. I'm passionate about it.
You get up every morning and say, I can't wait to get to work,
I
correct?
do. Love my job.
That's what we like.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Okay.
Take care.
We're almost out of time, but before we go, here are some events and reminders. The indoor markets will be taking place on February 2nd and 16th and March 2nd and 16th. Over 20 vendors will be there offering a wide variety of items. Hours are 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Discovery Center at 4444 Hadley Avenue. Don't forget about the annual Snow Sculpture Contest. This year's theme is Superhero. Submit a photo of your entry to the Discovery Center by March 29th. The winner will receive a $100 gift card to Marcus Theaters. Dog Sled Day is Saturday, February 9th at 11 a.m. at the Discovery Center. This free event is a rare chance to meet sled dogs. The following week, on February 15th, is a snowshoe event from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Discovery Center with food and beverage samples, a bonfire, vintage games, and snowshoeing. The cost for the event is $34 per person by February 1st and $40 per person after that date. And finally, sign up to sell at the Indoor Garage Sale, which takes place on March 23rd at the Discovery Center. Call 651-747-3860 for more information. That's all we have time for this month's Oakdale Update. For everyone at the City of Oakdale, thanks for watching.